All right. Thank you so much for recording this, Marissa, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for making the time to connect live. My name is Pilar Mejía. I'm one of the leads of the Gente TMRG here at GitLab. And we are super excited to be talking about the security division today as part of our career growth calendar. And if you're wondering what that is, when we took a look at fiscal 25, the Gente leads all came together and thought career development is something that's kind of top of mind for everyone. GitLab has grown so much. We have so many amazing resources. There are so many different opportunities, and it can be a little overwhelming to navigate it all, to figure out where to start, to understand all the different pieces of what makes career growth possible here at GitLab. So we're on a scavenger hunt. We're asking some questions, and today specifically, we'll be asking questions to Josh Lemos, our CISO, about the security division. So that is why we are here. We've got our notes doc. Please feel free to add questions either at the AMA section, at the agenda number 7, or in the chat. And then Giuliana, my co-host, and I will be happy to verbalize anything and or ask you to verbalize anything that you can. So with that being said, I would love to turn it over to Giuliana. Hi, Giuliana. Tell us who you are.
Hi, everyone. I know I'm a newer face to Gente. I recently joined Pilar and team as a co-lead. I am a people business partner. I know a lot of people maybe have not heard that title and don't know what it means, so I'll explain a little bit. In a lot of other companies, it's called HR VP or HR business partner. But there are 10 of us across GitLab, and we're aligned to different divisions and functions in the company. So I support security and Josh, and then product David DeSanto as a people business partner here. We're kind of like liaisons between the traditional HR world and then the business units we support. So the value of having us aligned to specific functions is that we're really embedded in the priorities, happenings, objectives, challenges, goals, and can translate that back to the HR world to make sure that the business strategy for the groups we support is really tightly aligned to the talent strategy. So that's a long way of saying that I work a lot with Josh and his leaders.
Amazing. Thank you, Giuliana. So I think we now get to introduce Josh. What do you think? Since you're familiar with him, you probably know how to do this best.
Josh, welcome. I think most people know who you are as the CISO at GitLab, but we'd love to hear a little bit more about your background in your words and kind of your view of your role here.
Sure. I'll start, we'll go chronologically here. That makes the most sense. I was a failed car and lift mechanic who stumbled my way into computer science and security. If I was better at working on cars, I wouldn't be here today. I initially went into college doing electrical engineering, and so I thought I wanted to do like double E stuff. But then I discovered computer science, networking, engineering, and sort of found a passion for that. That lasted, I don't know, the first 5 or 6 years of my career before this new emerging discipline came out in the long, long ago, and what people call the firewall and antivirus days of security. And so, like a lot of security people of that era, I sort of descended the spanning trees of networking to walk on 2 legs as a security person, and started off in kind of Unix systems engineering at the time, and did a whole bunch of other things before I found offensive security, and that was now called red teaming. We were getting paid in the very early days when it was very easy, easier than now, to break into banks and casinos, and that was a ton of fun. And so I did that for a very long time, ended up running consulting teams. And after some number of years, probably too many to count, I realized that we weren't making a difference. We were pointing at the problem. We're like, that's a problem, you should fix it. And everyone's like, you're right, we don't know how. And that led me to going in-house to building security products and running internal security teams where we could express a ton more value. Over time, I worked my way through the product security, application security world into, being a CISO and security leadership. Before joining GitLab, I was at Square, which is now called Block. And I was a CISO there. And I met Sid. And at first, I was not interested in coming to GitLab. But Sid is very compelling. He's got a very incredible vision for what GitLab can and should be. And I was entranced. I talked a lot about what we can do at scale for security, and Sid was aligned to that vision. And so ultimately I found myself, and this will be I think tomorrow or the next day will be 1 year here at GitLab.
I'm going to jump way back into your story and ask what type of cars you worked on as a failed car mechanic.
Oh, I was building like muscle cars and doing like drag car stuff. I used to live by a racetrack in Northern California, Sears Point. So we do Wednesday night drag racing, and I lost my license, all kinds of stuff. It was when we talk about security and then sort of the island of misfit toys, we'll get into that as well.
I love it. I have a feeling you're going to get some coffee chat requests for this car connection that many of us didn't know about. Well, we're really glad Sid was able to convince you to come, and congrats on your almost 1 year. At GitLab, since you've joined over the past 12 months, what have your core focus areas been? How's your role looked? How's it evolved?
It's always interesting being the first CISO at a company. In fact, most CISOs will tell you don't do it, especially after you've already been a CISO somewhere else. Defining a role is a very difficult thing to do. You have to find the alignment with the company that you're tasked with supporting. You have to understand the business. You have to be able to integrate really well and to operate functionally at a high level with very, very loose guidelines, expectations, and then overlaid into regulation in publicly traded companies. And so my role is really in 3 parts. Number one is to operate a security program. So that is traditional information security. That is everything from when you log into your laptop, how you get access to Okta, to what we do in GitLab as a product and securing our customers' information and their data. So it runs the entire discipline, and there are 4 disciplines primarily. There are at least 4 sub-teams within security. We have security assurance, which is a governance, risk, and compliance function. So you can think about ISO certification, if you've heard that, or PCI certification is in that realm as well, but we don't do that here. FedRAMP for those Fed folks on the call. We also support the go-to-market function out of our field security team, and manage internal and external audits out of that group. We have security operations, which is your detection and response folks. It is our red team, which does offensive security. It's our trust and safety group, all under one umbrella there. We have product security, which is application security supporting our engineering and product teams. They also do infrastructure as well, so GCP, AWS security. And then we have corporate and IT security, your laptop, your endpoint, securing data in our SaaS providers, a whole litany of things, plus identity, so Okta and how you get access to that. And then IT end user support, which is when the folks that you reach out to when something's not working. So that is the 10,000-foot view of the security division here.
Thank you. I'm going to ask, you mentioned red teaming earlier on and giving us kind of the context for how you got into security and in the context of security operations. As someone who's fairly new to security, I've been y'all's people business partner since September. Red teaming was one of the coolest things ever for me to learn about when I became aligned. So I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about what red teaming is for the non-security folks on the call.
Sure. It is the thing that people gravitate to because everyone watches movies, right? And so you see, Ocean's 11, right? Or you see, there's old school movies like Hackers where people are breaking into systems, and red teaming is really a convergence of a lot of different attacker emulation. So in the long ago, people were doing it, as I say, for the lulz, right? Like you were hacking into things because it was fun, it was silly. It was not the commercial enterprise it is today. So attackers are very organized. In many cases, they're state funded. It's a lot more serious, but they generally have tools, techniques, and procedures that they use to pursue their end objectives of compromising systems. So a red team will look at different threat actors or the attackers and their behaviors and emulate those internally within our systems. So if they know that a certain group starts their campaign with phishing, and then they move laterally by using a certain set of tools to compromise other systems and data, they will start to use those same techniques to see if our systems and controls can detect that behavior. The end goal is they want to go entirely undetected, and at the end write a report and say, here's all the things we need to fix. It doesn't always work out that way. As we improve our defensive capabilities, sometimes they get caught along the way, and it's great for me. I sleep better at night when that happens. So we've moved past what you call purple teaming, which is where the defensive team knows that the red team is coming in and they exchange information throughout. Now we do zero knowledge attack simulation, where we can run operations at any time. We don't tell CERT is coming, and they treat everything like an incident.
So we should take comfort in knowing this team exists, but never actually know that they're here all at once.
As far as you're concerned, they don't exist.
Love it. Thank you, Josh. Before I hand it over to Pilar to learn a little bit more about your career trajectory, wondering if you could share kind of what is top of mind for you right now in terms of goals and something you'd like to achieve that would make FY25 a real win for your division.
So FY25 is not even a full year at this point. So I think in time horizons of multiple years generally. So for this year, we're focused on a number of things, and I see Steve Manzik on the call as well. And I'll start with more of the IT side. So we are focused on a couple of core areas. One is identity, which is how do we make sure that we have the right level of access to the right folks, and we can attest to the identity of the person, the human, the device, and the system, and map all of those things in a matrixed way in kind of a least privilege model. The second is a concept of minimization. So how do we shrink our attack footprint to kind of the smallest? And there's a number of initiatives going on within the group to achieve that. And third, how do we get to self-service and automation for our engineers and product people? And we have a couple of pilot programs and research and experimental projects out there within our product security group to avail those capabilities to our engineers. And I'll throw a bonus one in, dog fooding. So we are formalizing our dog fooding within the security division on how we use GitLab capabilities in secure and governed platforms, and providing really tight feedback loops with our product teams to make sure that we're building the right things for our customers, we're using them ourselves, and continuing that iteration.
Thank you. Looking forward to
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Josh. So I know you gave us a little bit of your origin story. So I'm curious, security obviously is a really interesting space. What makes you stick with it. Like, why are you in security? Why do you like your career in security? Why should other people be interested in a career in security instead of drag racing? And
What gives you the idea that I like this, Pilar? I don't. It's just the only thing that I'm good at. The why do I like security? It's security is not like if you are a plumber, water always flows downhill, right? If you are a security person, water might flow uphill one day because there is a entirely dynamic environment that you operate in. We move our controls around, and we have a dynamic attacker on the other side that's changing their tools, their approaches, their techniques, and we have to constantly adapt. So there's never a time where we get comfortable in this role. The other thing I'll say is that while you shouldn't necessarily pursue your passion for your career, but you need to be passionate about your career. Which means you have to care about what you do, or you'll never be good at it.
That makes a lot of sense. I love that. Thank you. So you walked us through your team. Sounds like there's a lot of different puzzle pieces there. What kind of background do security team members usually come from? Or what kind of skills do make a good security professional?
Former cyber criminals. It runs the gamut. Like it really does. And in the long ago, there were, you know, curious adolescents who were very proficient with computers, and that evolved over time. When I went through university, there was not a computer security program. You couldn't get a degree. You can get a degree in electrical engineering or computer science. That's evolved. You can now get graduate degrees in computer security. So we do have folks in security who do follow a traditional path through academia into the professional world. We have individuals with philosophy majors who have done many other things before arriving. I mean, just look at, Sid is a submarine engineer by training. So security is very similar. We have a lot of different backgrounds. It's extremely diverse in terms of origin and interests. I think that the sort of dominant feature of security people is that they are obsessive and persistent, and they generally don't give up. And I think that if I were to, look for different soft skills, it's really that. It's how persistent are you? Are you endlessly curious? Are you willing to pursue this, kind of week in and week out? And if I can answer yes to those, then I generally have a good fit. But there isn't any one background or skill set that really, if you look across my team, there's just a massive amount of different, locations, educational backgrounds. We have, I've had PhDs in physics, and I've also had people who have never gone to college, all working in security together.
So it sounds like security is for everyone. I like it.
For everyone. We're all members of the security team, whether you know it or not.
There you go. We're all trying to be safe. So in your security career, do you have any career highlights or key milestones that come to mind? Other than this call, obviously.
Career highlights. I don't think of things in those terms, really. I think that there's a couple things that have given me a lot of satisfaction. And the general advice I give is that if you follow your interests, you will certainly be better off and better served in your career because you're doing something that you care about. Kind of going back to you have to care about it to be good at it. start there. And I've always followed my interest from wanting to hack into things to wanting to build security products. I fell into machine learning because it was a means to an end. So I started working on machine learning projects and AI in, I want to say 2015, 2016 timeframe. That served me well in my security career because I had a base level knowledge and a powerful and emerging set of technologies that ultimately became generative AI. And that was just through interest. I didn't have to do that for my job. I think that I don't keep trophies. I don't keep medals. I don't keep accomplishments handy. I really just think about what are we trying to do, and are we expressing a lot of value and benefit? The things that I hold as highlights are where I've mentored other leaders, other team members, and they've been successful. A lot of the gratifying work I do is still in that space. It is helping other people succeed. I advised a bunch of startups, and when they go off and they're successful and they get whether it's VC funding or they have some milestone of success, that is deeply gratifying for me in terms of whatever contribution I had to helping them along that way.
I love mentorship as a career highlight. That is a fantastic one. And I love that you said that without prompting, because I know we're going to announce a couple opportunities at the end of this call. So that's an excellent tip. Thank you. Giuliana, let's talk about some career growth tips with Josh.
Let's get into it. 50% of these answers are going to be new for me too. So I'm particularly excited for this part of the conversation. So Josh, we've gone from car mechanics to computer science to security. In all of those years, what is the best career advice you've received?
I think early on I was told you die with your inbox full. And what that meant to me was that no matter how many hours I put in, if I didn't make time for everything else in my life, my entire life would be about my work. And so as much as I am, obsessive and work a lot, it is making time for all those other things that actually in turn make me better at doing my work. All of the research says that if you spend too many hours straight, you have, diminishing returns. And I've found that to be true personally and professionally. So, making sure that you find a balance for yourself. I don't think of work-life balance. I think that is a weird and like misaligned term from the practical realities of it. It's just a balance. Like, how do you figure out how to get your work done? How do you figure out how to get time with your family and your own, get a workout in your day or whatever you like to do as your downtime or your activity. So managing all that and being good about time management and being really effective and efficient is incredibly important. And I don't think I got great advice in that regard, but there's certainly some masters of efficiency here at GitLab.
I love that. And it's a great reminder, especially with May being Mental Health Awareness Month, to make sure we are taking care of ourselves and striking that balance. Do you have any tips for the team on how you maintain that balance in your life?
I think I just have my priorities right. I think that it's really important to know what you value and what's important to you. So I have, a family, and I know that my number one job, if I were to leave GitLab tomorrow, is to make sure that they're provided for and taking care of them. So I make sure that's squared away, number one, and that allows me to focus on what I'm doing here. And then I make sure that I get a workout in. You can ask Marissa, I'm kind of a nightmare when I don't get enough exercise in, because there's that energy has to go somewhere.
Does it go to Marissa if the workout doesn't happen? Is that what we're getting at here?
When the snark goes to 10, she knows I need to go get a workout in.
Fair enough. Fair enough. The self-care matters. Okay, so pivoting a bit, looking back, what would you say the mistake that you've made that you've learned the most from is?
Oh boy, how much time do you have?
About
You learn far more from your mistakes than you learn from your accomplishments. I mean, it seems cliche, but it is very true. I have made so many mistakes at every level of my career, and I really attribute success to learning from those mistakes. I have made mistakes about investing in the wrong people as a manager. I have made mistakes in getting the calibration wrong between where my work should end and someone else's begins. I have made project mistakes where we just worked off bad data and went the wrong direction because we thought we were right in our assumptions and dependencies, and those turned out to be off base. And so learning about how to get to a good set of facts and ground truth, understanding what it means to be a leader versus a boss or a manager, and what you need to do there is important. And I think probably the most important thing is being authentic through all of that. It is the number one currency we have as leaders is reputation. And if you can't get that authenticity right, you're never going to go anywhere. People won't believe you. You're not credible. So I really think about, it's not about bringing all my problems to work, but it's about being truly honest, having integrity, and connecting with people in a way that's genuine and real to get the outcomes that you're collectively looking for.
Love that, especially in our remote space. Authenticity is kind of the Kickstarter for building that connection that doesn't come quite as organically and as it would if we were in an office setting. So that's a great reminder for all of us in terms of how we approach our interactions with each other. Pivoting, we are coming up on our Q3 promotion cycle, and I know this is top of mind of you because we're talking about processes and all the things for security. When you are considering someone for promotion readiness, what are the key things you look at to evaluate and calibrate that readiness?
I think it's really different for ICs and leaders. So when you're looking at someone who is an individual contributor, they have an existing role level and they have a target role level. And you have to figure out, is this person performing at this target level? What's the gap between where they are? And I'm always looking for a couple of signs of demonstrable work that they've done at that level, but also their cross-functional peers that are at that level, what they have to say about that work and how well they work within the ecosystem. The reason that latter part is important is because it's very easy to do things alone and go very fast. But how does that work? And are you creating any negative externalities in that process? And so for ICs, I sort of look for those signals, if you will, as they're putting together their body of work for promotion readiness. For leaders, it's a little bit more complicated. We look at it in terms of their individual readiness, the business need for, do we need a leader at this level at the company at this time? And are we able to give them the scope of responsibilities consistent with that role and level? And then also triangulate with how does this person work as a collaborator? Do they embrace the GitLab? Not do they. How well do they embrace the GitLab values? If they don't embrace the GitLab values, they probably don't work here. But if how do they do that? Where are their growth areas? Are they ready? Do we need to give them a path to that promotion, or are they ready now? And then we go through the process of calibrating on each individual, their individual readiness, company readiness, the role, the need, the timing. And if all of those things work out, then we move forward. So it is not a simple process. It's one that we put a lot of work into, but it's maybe, growing people is probably the most important thing we do here as leaders.
Which ties back to the mentorship piece you were mentioning earlier too. I particularly like what you said in terms of it's not just the results, but how you get the work done that matters when we think about readiness, especially in the context of IC promos. So we know career growth isn't just promotion. That is an exciting part of it, but there are other ways to grow and prepare to do something different. Maybe it's a course, maybe it's hopping over to a new area, maybe it's a lateral move. So when we think about the wider career growth opportunities that we have at GitLab, what are the core things you'd highlight to team members to prepare for that growth?
They prepare for career growth.
Maybe someone is wanting to get into security, for example, from another division. Maybe they're wanting sponsorship from their manager to pursue a different path or take a course. So what are the key things you look for when you say, yes, I want to invest in you and support you in growing your career further, if it's not a promo?
So one thing is like, is this individual successful in their current role? And why or why not, right? So evaluate that. Number two is look at learning and development opportunities. Has this individual invested in themselves? I always look for people who are looking to continually grow and taking accountability and responsibility for their own learning and career journey. Do they own the outcomes that they're looking for? And are they looking for opportunity, or are they looking for assistance? Because I think those are very different things. And we can help find opportunity when the self directed components are in place. So if team members are looking to move laterally within the organization, or they're looking to get promoted, think about how you're investing in yourself today. Are you doing the things that are necessary to fulfill what your career goals are? If not, step one, find a good mentor, find a coach, find an advisor who can help you chart a course there if you're not able to do that on your own. If you are, then figure out where the gaps may be. And if you've done that, there's no gaps there, then find the opportunity and really connect with that, or reach out to someone who can help you find those opportunities.
Love that playbook for advancement and development. Pretty applicable to everyone.
100%. So that was all such great advice. Thank you for sharing that, Josh. I want to talk a little bit more about security again and the security division at GitLab.
My favorite topic. Yeah.
I knew it. I knew it. What advice do you have for current GitLab team members that are maybe looking to learn more about or get involved in the security space? So you mentioned a lot of different backgrounds. Is there any sort of training or courses that might be good for folks to get started with? Or maybe something a little more organic, like, sign up for this blog or keep an eye on this account for good security topics and events?
There are all kinds of things. I would say that depending on where you are in your career, I would reach out to the friendly folks in the security or security department Slack channel. Because if your interest is in application security, the answers for you will be from someone on the AppSec team. They will tell you what are the best newsletters, blogs, Twitter/X accounts to follow, how to come up to speed on that. If you're just looking for general information, I post in the CISO Slack channel every week on what's going on in the security division, things that I'm working on, and we put out there the things that we're working on. So in the spirit of everyone can contribute, if you see anything in any of the security Slack channels that you want to participate in or contribute to, follow the issue, reach out to the DRIs. We're always happy to use those as learning opportunities for team members. But also, if you just want to stay informed, follow along in the security channels, and you'll get a sense of what we're about, what we're working on, what we care about, and what's happening in the threat landscape. So we publish a lot on beyond the walls of virtual walls of GitLab, what's happening out in the Fed space, broadly in internet security, trends and kind of threat actor behaviors that we're seeing out there.
Makes sense. So Slack is a great place to keep a pulse on the security division. Any other places where we could keep an eye on things like OKRs or, for example, job opportunities?
All of our OKRs are out there in the same issue board as all corporate OKRs. Job opportunities. We have, Giuliana, correct me if I'm wrong, but all of those are going to be in Greenhouse. And I don't think we have like a special security job board, except that you can divisionally select, you only want to see jobs for the security division in Greenhouse.
Perfect. So we will look for that drop down that says security and be able to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. So how can everyone, the greater GitLab team, contribute to your team's success, the security team's success?
As I referred to earlier, you're all members of the security team. What you do for GitLab every single day can either keep us secure or open, new opportunities for our adversaries. And so it is being really vigilant about how you use your devices and your accounts. I'm not a big fan of phishing simulations. They are, something we're required to do as a compliance function. But where you see phishing, where you see very suspicious members on LinkedIn who don't appear to work here, looking to connect to you, our adversaries use many tactics. Some of them are social in nature, some of them are programmatic. There's a big supply chain issue that was disrupted recently by an engineer who was doing performance testing and couldn't figure out why they were using more CPU than expected. So every single person, it's like if you see something, say something approach. Every single person here has the ability to do that in their day-to-day life, and all of that contributes to the protection of GitLab and the betterment of our security program overall. About half, 30 to 40% of our incidents come in from team members. Hey, this thing happened, and that contributes to keeping everyone here secure. So keep that up. Don't think that just because you're like, it's probably just me. Even if it is, send it our way. We'll happily tell you that it's just you, or maybe it's something more.
I like it. Better safe than sorry. Definitely raise your hand and say things. And I'm going to go ahead and shred these little password Post-its all over my desk. So maybe that'll help as well.
You break my heart, Pilar. You break my heart.
I'm just kidding. Okay, the next topic is my favorite. So Giuliana, I'm so excited for us to talk about diversity and how we build our teams. Josh does such an amazing job at this.
Here we go. I do want to make sure we have time for AMA, so I'm going to ask one question related to this. Josh, your division is incredibly diverse. I know that you've been very intentional about building that diversity since you started a year ago. So I would wonder if you could share some of your key strategies that got you to this point and what you would recommend to other leaders looking to increase diversity on their teams.
You're not gonna like this answer. Shri doesn't like this answer either. It's just not that hard. It's just really not that hard. Like pull and maybe like this is my bias. I'm, a native Californian. I went to school and started my career in San Francisco. It was a very diverse place. I always had a lot of diversity in my teams, and so that's what's normal to me, is to have a good amount of diversity. Strategically, it's important because we use that to get divergent perspectives. As I mentioned earlier, when you start talking about adversaries are dynamic and they think differently, if I had a whole bunch of people that thought exactly like me, our defenses would look like a very monolithic set of controls. But by bringing in a bunch of divergent perspectives, diverse backgrounds and opinions, we get a plurality of solutions that ultimately lead to better outcomes. And if you can think about your teams in that way, you can hire to get different opinions. People should think differently than you do and then the rest of your team. People should probably look different than you and the rest of your teams. And it's really just not that hard to get to start with 50 or 100 resumes and put together a candidate pool that is really diverse. It's just not that hard.
So just do it is kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Make it a priority and do it.
Stop whining and just do it. Like it's not hard.
Thank you, Josh. We are going to move in to AMA. We don't have questions listed yet, but if anyone has something live they want to verbalize, we're happy to type out for you.
See, the problem, Giuliana and Pilar, is you asked all the good questions already. So you didn't leave anything on the table.
Hey, Josh, I'll try one. I think I heard you're a surfer. Is that correct?
I did surf growing up in California. I did surf there quite a bit. I don't surf in cold water anymore, so that means I don't surf very often anymore.
So I was going to ask you your favorite spot. Mine is Nosara, Costa Rica. So I'm a warm weather guy myself. But
yeah. So I surfed Costa Rica, actually the whole Pacific coast of Costa Rica from Nicaragua to Panama.
nice.
But I'd say the Maldives was pretty amazing. Where else have I surfed that was really, really memorable? I have family in Hawaii, so I've surfed there a lot, but
Nice.
I don't think I have a favorite spot there. All right, Pilar.
Any other questions? You know, I've always got more questions, Josh. So I kind of want to go back to diversity for a second. Obviously, just do it. Great idea. What about for folks that say that it is hard, that there's just not a pool out there? They're just not finding the right folks. Are there any tips or places to look, organizations maybe to keep an eye on and join to find the right candidates?
So generally when people say that, I ask them what they're doing. Like, what are you doing to own your search? And what I find is like, well, I work with a recruiter and they send me these resumes. And it's like, well, sourcing is certainly one avenue. But I've hired 2 people directly myself and my leadership team, and neither one of them came in through either the website or through sourcing. They were through professional networks and not people I knew directly prior to being at GitLab. So use your industry connections. And for me, that means Slack channels. So there are a bunch of private Slack channels for CISOs. I reached out into them and said, listen, I'm looking for this, that, and the other thing for this role. And I got back 10, 15 very qualified, diverse candidates from those means. And I passed them over to our TA team, and they manage the process from there. But they are about a third of what you should be doing if you're going out and looking to fill a role, is take some direct accountability for your outcomes in your sourcing. Because if you don't start with a reasonably good, I hear it all the time, there are very few women in cybersecurity. Well, there's an entire group called Wixis, which is women in cybersecurity. Like, you can go out and go to these groups to find anything that you're looking for in terms of how to round out the diversity within your group. So leverage your TMRGs. They might know how to, look in places that you may not be looking, or connect your recruiter with your TMRGs.
Yes, we are here to help. Thank you for that call out. I know we only have 2 minutes left, and I want to make sure we don't run out of time for the final announcement. So I'm going to sneak that in, and we'll see if we have time. You talked about mentorship as a career highlight. You have always been so generous with your time. You're an incredible executive sponsor. A big thank you if I don't say that often enough. But now you are also generously opening up your calendar to the greater group. So we are going to be starting quarterly CISO office hours with Josh. So if you recall, you ever had office hours at any educational institution, this is going to be a space for you to come. If you have something you're working on that you want to pick Josh's brain on, you want to see what's going on maybe on his side of the fence with security, you have any questions for him. The intention is to just create spaces where you can connect with Josh. You can talk about things that are top of mind for you that you might need help with. And if for some reason you're not super comfortable just dropping into some office hours, maybe a group setting isn't your thing, no problem, because Josh has also agreed to open up his calendar for 15-minute career chats. So think of a coffee chat, you get together, you hang out, you talk about all the cool things. Let's use Josh's time really wisely. He has a tremendous amount of expertise in leadership, obviously in security, obviously in building diverse teams. So I think those are all things that we could learn a lot from. And for these sessions, all you have to do is tag the wonderful Marissa Carlson in the EBA Slack channel. And if you're not sure what to chat about, you want to pick his brain, but you don't know, we're going to work on some topics for you. So we'll have a sample agenda, some sample topics. And for folks that don't normally talk to the C-suite, this is good exercise for you. If you're growing your career, you need to get comfortable talking to executives, talking to top leaders. So this is an opportunity to do just that.
Yeah, so I think that we should probably capture Romer's experience there as well, and use that. One of the things that Romer told me was that he was super nervous about talking to executives early on, but being part of the TMRG built that experience. And now he's coming to his work and coming to these meetings with a lot more confidence. And I want that for everyone. The other thing I would say is that, I've had coffee chats and I've had these career coaching sessions that run the gamut of topics. And I even have someone reaching out to me who I haven't managed in like 8 years this morning, saying like, hey, I have this situation at work. Do you have 15 minutes to talk about it? And I'm always happy to take the time to do those things. It's, it helps me, and hopefully it helps you, and we're all better for it. So thanks for the time today, Giuliana, Pilar. Thanks for hosting this. Appreciate the time. Great seeing all these folks join this morning.
Yeah, thank you everyone so much for joining. We'll share the recording link and, become a career highlight for Josh. Schedule some time on his calendar. Show up to an office hour. We'll get those on the calendar soon. So
Thanks so much.
thanks everyone.
Thank you.